Most people live their entire lives at 40% of their potential. They quit when things get uncomfortable. They stop when life pushes back. They settle for average because it's easier than facing the truth about who they are. David Goggins refused to be one of those people. Not because he was born brave, not because he had talent, but because he discovered something most people never learn. The mind is trying to protect you, not push you. And if you want an extraordinary life, you have to fight your own limits harder than you fight anything else. David Goggins grew up in a violent home. His father beat him, abused him, and treated him like property. He was surrounded by fear, trauma, and chaos from the moment he woke up. By the time he was a teenager, he could barely read. He was overweight, insecure, paralyzed by the belief that he wasn't good enough. He calls it the victim mentality. That feeling that the world owes you, that your past defines you, that you're stuck because life is unfair. And he's honest about it. He lived that way for years. Until one day, he looked in the mirror and didn't even recognize the person staring back at him. At 135 kilos, working a dead-end job spraying cockroaches in restaurants, he saw the truth. Not the truth about the world, the truth about himself. He was weak, mentally beaten, hiding behind excuses. Everything in his life was shaped by fear. Fear of failure, fear of pain, fear of judgment. And in that moment, he made a decision that would change his life forever. He would stop negotiating with comfort. He would stop lying to himself. He would see how far he could push the limits of a human being who refused to quit. That decision took him into one of the hardest training programs on Earth, Navy SEAL Hell Week. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Most people barely survive it once. Goggins went through it 3 times because his body kept breaking down. Stress fractures, pneumonia, broken bones. And every time he healed, he came back. The reason he survived wasn't physical talent. Far from it. By his own words, he was never the fastest, never the strongest, never the most gifted. What he had was something different. A mind that had learned to suffer without breaking. He calls it the callous mind. Just like hands develop calluses, your mind does too. But only if you expose it to discomfort again and again. Pain becomes familiar. Fear becomes manageable. Hard becomes normal. And that's the core of Goggins' philosophy. Comfort is the enemy. It softens you, weakens you, makes you forget what you're capable of. But suffering? Suffering is the path. Not because pain is good, but because pain reveals you. When everything in you wants to stop but you keep going anyway, you meet a version of yourself you've never seen before. A stronger version. A version built through discipline and grit, not talent or luck. One of the most powerful ideas in Can't Hurt Me is what Goggins calls the 40% rule. When your mind tells you you're done, you're exhausted, you're at your limit, you're actually only 40% finished. Your brain hits the panic button early to keep you safe. But success lives in the 60% you never reach. The extra reps, the longer run, the uncomfortable conversation, the work you don't feel like doing. That's where extraordinary lives are built, in the moments most people avoid. To access that extra 60%, Goggins created what he calls the accountability mirror. It's brutally simple. You stand in front of the mirror, you look yourself in the eyes, and you stop lying. If you're lazy, you admit it. If you're out of shape, you admit it. If you're full of excuses, you admit it. Not to hate yourself, but to stop hiding behind stories. Because you can't fix a lie. You can only fix the truth. He wrote small notes and stuck them to the mirror. Be better. Work harder. Read. Lose weight. Stop being weak. Every time he confronted his own reality, until the gap between who he was and who he wanted to be became impossible to
to ignore. Another core idea from the book is the cookie jar, a mental technique for surviving the hardest moments. The cookie jar is a place in your mind where you store every victory you've ever had, no matter how small. Every time you did something you didn't think you could do. Every time you pushed through fear or pain. When life hits you and you feel like quitting, you reach into the cookie jar and remind yourself, I've done hard things before, I can do this too. It's not motivation, it's proof. A record of your toughness. A tool to silence the voice that says you can't handle it. But maybe the most important lesson in Can't Hurt Me is this. You must learn to master your mind, or your mind will master you. Your mind will always choose the easy way. It will tell you to stay comfortable, take shortcuts, avoid stress. But Goggins says the mind is like a wild animal. If you don't train it, it controls you. If you discipline it, it becomes your greatest weapon. That discipline comes from choosing voluntary suffering, doing the hard things on purpose, not because they are fun, but because they build resilience. Running when it's cold, studying when you're tired, waking up early when you want to sleep in. These small acts accumulate. Over time, they transform you into someone who is not controlled by feelings or circumstances. And here's something people misunderstand. Goggins doesn't preach being reckless. He preaches being intentional. The goal isn't to destroy yourself. The goal is to build a mind that doesn't collapse under pressure. A mind strong enough to handle failure, loss, stress, work, relationships, life. He learned this the hard way. After retiring from the military, he didn't stop pushing himself. Instead, he became an ultra-endurance athlete, running races so brutal that most people can't even imagine them. At one point, he ran 100 miles without training, just to test what happens when the body has nothing left but the mind. He tore muscles. He broke bones. His kidneys nearly shut down. But he refused to quit because he wanted to discover exactly where the line was between discomfort and true limitation. That line is much further away than most people ever realize. He also talks openly about the dark parts, the moments of doubt, depression, loneliness, and fear. Goggins is not pretending to be a superhero. He's a guy who learned to defeat the weaknesses inside himself, and he's brutally honest that those weaknesses never fully disappear. You fight them every day. You don't conquer the mind once. You conquer it repeatedly, through disciplined action. So what's the message of Can't Hurt Me? It's simple, but not easy. Your mind controls your life, but you control your mind. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. Raise your standards, and your life changes. Push through pain, and you discover strength. Stop blaming your past, and you take back power. The world doesn't owe you anything, but you owe yourself the chance to see how far you can go. Pain is the pathway. Discomfort is the teacher. And suffering, the voluntary kind, is the gateway to unlocking the version of yourself you are always capable of becoming. Not everyone wants that path. Not everyone can walk it. But if you choose it, if you're willing to stop negotiating with your limits, you'll understand what Goggins means when he says, they can't hurt me, because once you master your mind, the world loses its power to break you. If this helped you, hit that like button, subscribe for more sharp summaries, and drop a comment with the next book you want to see. Let's grow smarter together.